Welcome back, man.
Yeah, man. We were just saying, it's been a minute. It's been a while. We try to do these monthly, but I think the last time we recorded this was in December, and we're already on the first day of March. So this is probably the longest gap we've had. But I think it just comes down to how busy we've all been.
Yeah.
It's been all three of us, me, you, Adam. It's been crazy few months. A lot of, with the business, there's also excitement and stuff as well. There's lots of really good things happening in our lives. Got to take the yin with the yang, got to take with the good with the bad. But, for all three of us, this is a huge priority. So we knew that we had to make the time, we had to find the time because the time wasn't going to find us.
Correct.
And it's such a blessing and a gift that we could find today an opportunity, a few hours just to record these episodes. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, me too. It definitely has been a minute. And what a year so far, man. Like considering, the last episode that we did was in December, and now we're on the 1st of March. And yeah, I'm pumped, man. I feel like we're going to cover some really amazing topics today. And the first one that we're covering is all around masculinity.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is when we actually sat down and talked about doing a podcast, like start of last year, this is the first topic that we talked about. I remember when we were messaging each other, we were like, we should do one on masculinity, because you sent me that video of that guy, and then that topic of toxic masculinity came up.
Yeah.
And that was what was actually making us want to do this podcast. So yeah, goes back to the roots.
Man, it's such a big topic, and it's a controversial one, Like I've been trying to think about how to do this topic. Like, how do we cover masculinity? How do we not get cancelled at the same time? How do we approach it? Like, what's the best way? And so I've made up my notes, and as almost like a guiding platform on how to cover this, because you do hear the term masculinity thrown out a lot. Then you also hear the term toxic masculinity thrown out a lot, and what exactly that means. And so, especially like we live in a very different era, what traditional masculinity might have looked like 50 years ago compared to like a traditional masculinity 50 years ago to more a modern take of masculinity, and what that looks like now might be completely different. So my question to you, man, like I reckon we just we go straight off the bat, like how do you view masculinity?
All right.
It's a very broad question, but how do you view traditional masculinity? How do you view modern masculinity? And how do you kind of like merge those things?
Yeah. I think, when you talk about traditional masculinity, you can tell it's been a while since we're on a podcast. I'm stumbling my words. When we talk about traditional masculinity,
it's a hard word to say.
Yeah. There's things that, we see from like men in the early 1900s, that stand the test of time, that we see today, and we think, oh wow, those values are really beautiful traditional values that are lost today, right? But there's also things that you wouldn't necessarily agree on as well, right? And it's like anything, you take the good with the good, you take the bad with the bad, right? And when you see men today, there's a lot of things that they're doing differently that men didn't do, right? There's a lot of things that we need to bring back from, traditional masculinity.
Yep.
But there's also things that we're doing so much better now as well.
Okay.
And I think that for me, if you're asking me how I would describe masculinity, it's such a hard thing to describe. You're right. It is very broad. It's very, very broad. And it will look different for different people. If we had like 10 people in the room right now, they'd all have 10 different definitions of what masculinity is. But for me, it's about service, right? Now, even the word service can be very broad.
Correct.
Right? Service that aligns with your morals and virtues. That's, to me, is what masculinity is. And in order to do that, a man needs to really be in his own power. The key word there is own, right? They're not being dictated by external things, right? They're not a slave to the external world, right? They are a true leader. But when I say leader, it doesn't necessarily mean leading people outside of them, leading an army, leading a tribe. No, just being a leader of their own self, their own energy, understanding themselves down to the core so that they can then project that to other people and be of service in an authentic and loving way.
Yeah, it is such a broad term, man, because I think it's important to remember also that this term also applies to female. You know, females also have masculine traits or masculine energy. But you know, when we are looking at normally masculinity, we are referring to males. And I feel like the expectations of what it is to be a man in the current age has changed, say compared to our parents' time, or then even our grandparents' time, or even before that. And I think what makes masculinity such a controversial topic or difficult thing to discuss is that there is no clear definition. You know, is it more of a fluid kind of thing? And the hard part is then balancing traditional like masculine traits like strength, resilience, with more modern values of, say, empathy and compassion. And so that blend of those two things is very challenging because, like, I can only give you, like, say, my own personal experience with all this is that I wasn't taught how to be empathetic or compassionate as a child. And so what I would always see is, like, so my male role model being my father. And considering the fact that my family came from South America, Chile, I always saw my dad working. He was always working. And so that ingrained the value in me of hard work, that the man goes off, he works, whether he likes it or not. His sole responsibility is to provide for his family, to make sure that there's food on the table, to make sure that there's a roof over their head, to make sure that his children get really good education, that if they need clothes, they have enough money to buy things. So I always just saw that side of it. Okay? And so they're the seeds that were nourished in me as a child. That's how I saw masculinity, that if you're tired, too fucking bad, you have to still go to work. You got to suck it up. You got to keep going.
You sleep when you're dead, right? That's the old mentality. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, and although there is tremendous value in some of that, it does then set you up for failure also. And so I still remember it. Like, I was in a transition period of working in construction with my dad and then building my personal training business. And I was working like 16-hour days. And I would start at 6 a.m. in the city, so I would have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get on the 4:45 a.m. train. And after like doing that for like a month, I remember being exhausted. And one day just getting up and walking down the stairs and taking my time to put my shoes on. And my dad's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Man, I'm so fucking tired. Like, I'm exhausted. Like, I'm just doing so many things. I'm just exhausted." And he was like, "What the fuck are you complaining about? Like, you're so lucky. You're so blessed. Like, you've got the opportunity to work in construction. You have the opportunity to start a new career. You know, come on, you got to suck it up. You got to keep moving." And I remember thinking, yeah, that's right. Like, I got to fucking just suck it up and keep going. And that's exactly what I have to do. And so those things then just become natural in us. They just get ingrained in us.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you feel guilty about having rest? Still, do you have to have like talk to yourself about when you're resting that it's okay to rest still?
Yeah, especially now that my life is so different, where I sacrificed so much, man. Like, I fucking worked so much, man, that when I do have those moments where I have nothing to do, I feel bad.
This is really
And
important.
I feel like I have to justify it.
Yeah.
You know?
This is really important because you hit a key point right at the start of this when you said, when we talk about masculinity, it's not just about males, right? I see a lot of females that are in their masculine energy, right?
Yeah.
And remember, we talked about this a few episodes ago. Masculine energy is that energy that puts you in a state of doing and action. Feminine energy puts you in a state of being, rest, nurturing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Free flowing. And I would say like 90% of the community is in their masculine predominantly.
Yeah.
Right. And we feel guilty when we take time to be in our feminine. And so, yeah, when we're talking about this, just want to state that, like Jonny said at the start, this is for females too. But yeah, they feel guilty about resting and taking time to stop. But go on. Sorry, man.
No, it's just because we have that hustle culture built into us. Like, you know, if you open up social media, that's all you fucking ever see. It's just, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to do this, you got to do that. And as a parent now, as a dad, I think, and I draw a lot of inspiration from people like Brad Stolberg, where I want to demonstrate to my children now that I'm the strongest fucking person in the room, but also I'll be the first one to cry also. You know, I think that's like super important, that, you know, I can deadlift 200 kilograms, but also I'm like a gentle teddy bear and you can tell me all your stories. And if you want to sit down with me and paint my nails, you can do that also. And so it's about like just shifting those energies, like understanding that masculinity, you can still be strong, you can still be confident, you can be resilient, but at the same time, built into that masculinity is empathy, is cooperation, it is support, it's all those things.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking a lot, like, because it is a buzzword and you hear it a lot. And look, and I understand why a lot of men get really upset with the terminology of toxic masculinity. Like, you hear the word toxic masculinity all the time. And I feel like men feel like it's an attack on them, because in many ways it kind of is. And so, because I was talking to Adam before about this, is that, let's just say you have a guy that is just like whistling at a girl, like, or going around and just at a nightclub and just grabbing, you know, a chick's ass.
Adam does that to me at jiu-jitsu like every week.
All those kinds of things. It's like, or, you know, like a man might make a sexist remark towards a female, and those things are branded as toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're not, because that's not even how the term was coined, or like the whole point of that phrase. That's not toxic masculinity. That's just a person acting like a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
They're
100%.
two very different things. And so
It's got nothing to do with gender.
No,
it's just a person's actions.
correct.
Yeah,
and so
100%.
like toxic masculinity essentially was meant to, like, it wasn't meant to like demonize men's behavior, but rather it was coined to offer like help. Like toxic masculinity is more about a man not being able to demonstrate his emotions. So like, for an example, it's wrong for a man to cry.
Yeah.
You know, it's wrong for a man to be emotional. It's wrong for a man to want to take rest and stop and say, I can't do this. It's wrong for a man to say that he's not strong or powerful. That's what it was aimed at, not the things where we, you know, like say a man just treats someone like shit and they're like, oh, this is toxic masculinity. And no, that's not what it is. Like, we use that term now in a derogatory way to shit on males.
Yeah. I don't know why we added the masculinity at the end of it. It's just toxic, right?
Exactly.
Like, males can be toxic. Females can have toxic qualities.
Yeah.
You know, like any living thing
Correct.
can be toxic. Look at the word toxic. Toxic is when there's just like an imbalance in the energetic constitution of a thing, right? There's been moments in my life where I've experienced toxicity. I've had jobs that have been toxic. You know, water can become toxic. Liquids can become toxic. Anything can become toxic when there's an imbalance in the polarity of the energy. Right.
Correct.
And like, let's say, you know, you're in a, and you know, our next episode we're going to do is about careers, and we're going to talk about jobs and career and stuff. But, you know, if your job doesn't align with your energy, it becomes toxic. You know, relationships can start really well and healthy, but then as the two individuals grow and progress, it can become toxic because the energies are no longer in alignment.
Yeah.
Right? If people are acting in a way that doesn't align with your own vibrations, that creates toxicity.
Correct.
So it's the way that you receive and respond to things where you see it as toxic. Other people might see it and laugh at that person and find it funny and find it entertaining and amusing, but that's because they're in alignment with what that person is doing.
Yep.
And it might not be toxic, but it's just that masculinity at the end.
Correct.
It's like, why have we labeled that? Because toxicity exists everywhere.
Yeah, the thing that I don't like about that label is that it just puts you in a defense mode.
Yeah.
And like I've had this conversation with Rose like a few times, and it's like I've always been open and honest. Like I wasn't proud of the way that I was parenting in the very early stages of my kids' lives, in terms of me not being incredibly present. And so, and I was telling Ads about this, how like I wish I was around a lot more in the original stages. Like I wish I was helping more. But I had it drilled into me that my role is to provide and to support and to make sure that my kids have enough money. They have every opportunity available to them, that they're able to be sent to very good private schools, all these things. And so I would get upset in two different ways. I would get upset with myself because I'm like, all I wanted to do was to be there more for my children. But at the same time, I felt like I had this incredible amount of pressure and responsibility on me to provide and to support. So then if it was ever thrown in my face that I wasn't around much, I'd be like, there's context there that's what I saw in my own life. Mm-hmm. I became a product of my environment. Those were the seeds that were nourished in my life. And so that's why I make it such an example now, that I tell all my friends and whoever I can that if they have children, I'm like, hey guys, if you can earn less money, if you can change your lifestyle, whatever it may be, do it so you can be there more for your children. That unfortunately was a mistake that I had to learn on my own. And so when it gets thrown in my face, it really bothers me because I'm like, number one, I've apologized for this. And number two, that's all I saw in my life. And I had to learn through those fuck ups by myself. And so when I see now, like I wrote here some notes, like some examples of toxic masculinity, it's things like suppressing emotions to the point of emotional detachment or breakdown, believing that that aggression or dominance are the only way to prove strength, viewing anything associated with femininity, like compassion and vulnerability, as weak, and then struggling to ask for help due to fear of looking weak. Those are the things that we're talking about in terms of toxic masculinity. And those are the things that get built into us. You know, whether it's movies, like, man, I was obsessed with like movies like Rocky, you know, Rambo, any movie from like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like wrestling. It was always like that really like fucking, this is how you have to be a man. And then what happens is that you kind of grow up, you know, and then if you're not doing those things, you feel like a failure. And it's in like I still remember this, man. It was fucking disgusting. One of the biggest examples of toxic masculinity to its definition, true definition, was when I was working at a gym years ago. This would have been like 10 years ago. And there was a guy training and he was with his little son. And his little son fell over and he fucking smashed himself. And this kid wouldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old. And he's crying his eyes out. And the dad's going up to him and he's like, you know, like, why are you crying? Like, why are you crying? You know, stop crying. Stop acting like a faggot. Only faggots cry. Are you a faggot? And I was like, man, what the fuck is going on here?
How old was this kid?
This kid was like 3 or 4.
Fuck.
I'll never forget it. And I was like, man, this guy is such a fucking douchebag. Like, how could you say that to your child?
Wow.
But again, that child then is going to grow up with those disgusting seeds planted in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's toxic masculinity.
Yeah. There's a phrase that someone said to me, right, recently, and it's such a simple phrase, but it helps me make sense of everything. It helps me with forgiveness. It helps me with judgment. And it's the fact that we only know what we know, right? And when we talked about the older generation and their display of masculinity or their portrayal of masculinity, they only knew what they knew, right? We learned how to be masculine in this day and age from what we saw and what we didn't see. And that shaped us. In 30, 40 years' time, there might be a whole different evolution of masculinity. And they might look back at our generation and be like, oh, I like that how, you know, our parents or uncles or our grandparents did this, but I didn't like how they did this, right? And they might evolve and change and progress as well. But we only know what we know. And like you, very similar upbringing with my dad. You know, he's only ever said, I love you to me once. And it was through text message because he was in hospital and he thought he was about to die. Right. And we never showed emotions. We never expressed emotions. My brother and I never did. I only ever did to my mum.
Yeah.
And what I do is I would be overly affectionate to females.
Yeah.
Right. But never to males. Right. Yeah. Never like express emotion to males. I would never show vulnerability to males. Growing up, like in high school and stuff, I had a lot of male friends, but I also kept a lot of female friends close because they were the ones that I could express to, right? But then like male to male, you'd never show that because it was like almost like a sign of weakness, right? And the thing is, our parents were probably raising us the way their parents raised them. Correct. And so on and so forth, right? And what it takes just one person in your bloodline to break that ancestral curse. We call it ancestral curses, right? Because it is something that's passed down from generation to generation. Yeah. It takes one person. That's why they usually call it, you know, maybe the black sheep or, you know, the rebel or whatever. But they're only a black sheep or a rebel is because they're not doing something that's in the norm for the bloodline. Correct. They're doing something that's different, right? And, you know, they might be mocked, they might be criticized, they might be ridiculed, they might be insulted, they might be, you know, ostracized, whatever. But the thing is, it takes that one person to step out of the comfort zone, because that's what it is. As a male, right, especially our generation of males, it is very hard to step out and be vulnerable. It is one of the most challenging things to do until you do it, right? Until you do it. Now, it's very, like, it's become a lot easier for me to be vulnerable. Like, you know, we have a community of men around us. We have a brotherhood around us where we sit down and have coffees and say, hey, this is what's going on in my life, man. I'm not doing okay. I'm struggling at the moment. And like, you know, we cry to each other. We share things with each other, like deepest, darkest secrets, letting it all out, which is a beautiful gift, but we earned that. Correct. We honestly earned that. Like when I first started dating Lorna, something she said to me, she's like, I love how many like male friends and the type of friends you have around you. But like, I had to work for that. I had to work for that. Each of us earned that because we did the inner work. Yeah. Right. And we attract what we put out, right? Energy flows, where the attention goes, right? If we're trying to work towards that, we're going to like reciprocate that outside of us as well. And it is, and this is something I'm going to tell anyone that's listening right now, if you're kind of going through this at the moment where you're feeling like there's something that needs to come out and you need to kind of share something, but you just feel like you have to kind of hold it in because you're scared to be vulnerable. It's confronting for you. It's meant to be. Yeah. It's meant to be scary. It's meant to be confronting. But the thing is, you know, something about masculinity that I learned is you always want to be teetering on the edge, right? You don't want to go full force where you feel overwhelmed and you're drowning and stuff, but it's okay to be teetering on the edge. It's okay to be living your life with slight discomfort, you know, slight fear, because there's no progress without challenge.
Yeah, you need resistance.
100%.
I learned so much about masculinity when I became a dad. And especially because I'm so involved in my children's lives. And like, again, I can't complain about like my upbringing. It is what it is. And I thank God for the parents that I have, because I did have, and I do have, such amazing parents. Like my mom and my dad, you know, they gave me and my, you know, my siblings everything they possibly could. But I remember touching on like Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Pieces Every Step. Like, you know, he talks about the seeds that were planted in our parents so we can't get mad at them. Like, it gives context and understanding. And the more love and kindness and compassion and understanding that I bring to my parenting with my children, it's very painful for me, because then I notice what was missing in my life. And so like when I'm with Conan, you know, he's a full boy's boy. Like, he's obsessed with Hot Wheels. He's obsessed with like superheroes. He's a boy. Okay. But he is such a loving and kind boy also. And so I'm always making sure I'm going up to him, going, give daddy a kiss. How are you, buddy? Like, really showing like that other side of what masculinity should be. And when I do that, I then realize what was missing in my life, in my upbringing. And like, I used to be petrified of my school reports, because I wouldn't do very well. From like year 1 to like year 6, I remember in primary school, it was essentially straight D's. I would do really bad. And, you know, like we always joke about it, like that I had ADHD as a child. I probably did. And I probably still do as an adult. And I remember that I would get so scared of the reports, or I'd get so scared of doing homework with my dad. And I'd always end up crying like really badly. And like, say for an example, I see my little version of myself, like sometimes in my son, where I'm like, hey mate, did you do this? Like, did you like break this, or were you mean to your sister? And he like kind of like closes up a little bit, and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, mate, you're not going to get in trouble, but you just need to be honest with me. And he's like, yeah, I did that. And I'm like, okay, mate, like, can you understand why you did that? Like, why you did that? Like, why it's wrong? And when I do that, I always get like this feeling internally. I'm like, all I needed was someone to come up to me and be like, hey man, are you going okay at school? Are you okay, buddy? What's wrong? It's all right that you're not getting the best results. Let's work together on this. Like, I really needed that. And so I took a lot of that throughout my life, and I plugged those things into different aspects of my life that turned into very negative aspects of my life. And so, yeah, just being a dad, like now, it just really awakens of what you're missing. And also, like, I don't have any memories of, like, say, playing sports with my dad.
Nah, me neither.
Or kicking a ball around with my dad.
Yeah.
It was always like, I can't, I'm busy, I got to work, or I'm tired. And it's sad, like, to sit back and reflect on that. Like, it's painful for me. But at the same time, I'm not mad at my dad for that. Like, I understand it. Like, those were the things that were nourished in him. Those are the seeds that were planted in him. And it required me to go through this pain to break that curse.
Yeah.
To break that. Because I want Conan to grow up to be a strong, confident, powerful man who is the most empathetic, loving and caring person as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. Those are the seeds of masculinity that I'm trying to put into my child. And for those reasons, like, I don't find it useful, because I find, like, the problem with the word toxic masculinity is that it's used completely wrong today. And I find that it just dumps all guys together.
It also creates an us versus them mentality.
Division.
Yeah, 100%. It's did you have that down as well?
Yeah, I'm like, I was going to ask you, like, do you think the term toxic masculinity is a useful term, or does it create division?
Dude, there's a thing in, okay, and this is going to be like conspiracy theory talk or whatever. People might say, like, roll their eyes at it, but
Fuck 'em.
A lot of these conspiracies are true. I really believe that division is a purposeful tactic that is put out to society, because honestly, we're very dictated society, right? We're very easily brainwashed and dictated, right? The moment that, they said, oh, we want a television in every home, that was game over. That was when we stopped sitting down and having conversations like this, and we just started receiving information.
Correct.
Rather than critically analyzing, self-regulating, doing those kind of things, right? We just fed information. And then all of a sudden, things like what we see as success in careers, success in relationships, is told to us through Hollywood movies, through the media, through TV, through music. And then all of a sudden, what is our own thoughts, our own ideals, our own values is no longer ours. It's given to us. It's fed to us. And people might be saying, why would they try to create divide between people? Man, it doesn't matter if it's the media creating divide between religion, right, and race. I can tell you right now, right, if there was a mass murder that happened right now in the city and it was a Middle Eastern dude, it would be a terrorist attack.
Correct.
If it was a Caucasian dude, they wouldn't be labeling it a terrorist attack.
Mental health or
something like that, right? They've got labels for it. They create divide, they create fear through these things. There's always division, right? There's division between race, there's division between gender, like we're talking about. There's division between religion, there's division between heterosexuals and homosexuals. There's constant division, and the reason why is because it allows us to be dictated by fear. It allows more control, and they want to control us, because when we are easily controlled, we become sheep. We follow. We can't be leaders. We follow, because instead of being led by passion, purpose, love, and authenticity, we are then led by fear, right? And really, it's so much easier to have mass control. Things run smoothly when there's mass control. For the higher ups, for governments, etc. as well, right? And look, that's just my idea about it. That's just my philosophy on it, and my thoughts on it. So it's not like concrete, whatever. It's just how I feel. But
it's your experience, though, man.
Yeah, 100%. And
that's fine.
This toxic masculinity thing, it creates divide. But the thing is, right, it is not about males versus females, right? Even the whole that whole idea that I'm noticing it happening less and less now, and people are kind of like, women are kind of waking up to it. But the whole thing where it's like, women have to be successful in business just like men are, because then otherwise they're not equal, right? But then we're not driven by the same energetic system either, right? Now, if a woman wants to be a CEO of a company and she's not doing it for external validation, she's doing it for internal validation, it's something that really aligns with her, because sometimes we are just wired to have more masculine energy, whether you're female or male. Some males are wired to have more feminine energy, right? And the thing is, energy will flow. There's times where we're going to be more in our masculine, there's times we're going to be more in our feminine. We just have to understand that polarity, and we just have to kind of flow with that pendulum of the universe, right? It's constantly flowing, right? The moment we fight against it and resist, that's where we become overwhelmed. We just got to flow. It's that law of rhythm. But if a woman is doing it because she feels society is going to look down on her and be like, you're weak if you just want to stay home and look after the kids, you have no ambition, you have no drive. Why don't you want to run a business? Why don't you want to, start your own business or, get promotions at work? Then it's like, are you doing it to be validated by the people? Are you doing it because now your idea of purpose is dictated to you, right? And it creates that divide and that separation. But to conquer this, you have to understand that balance between male and female isn't a universal thing. It's not something where we're balancing a society. It's balancing the masculine and feminine within you, right? If everyone did that on this planet, there'd be so much harmony.
Correct.
Right? It's understanding that conflict and that polarity is within. It's the masculine and feminine within you. It's not males and against females. It's everything's internal.
And that's why I don't like that term, because I just feel like it creates so much division, and it just puts males against females, and then males will react in a particular way, and in defending themselves, that's how you get these characters like Andrew Tate. That's how you get these toxic masculinity kind of characters. I just hate what it does. Like we're on the fucking same team. You know, like we're all humans and we are equal, but we're different. And that's why, like, a lot of the times, like, people be like, men have it so much easier than women. And man, I hate those kinds of things as well, because the amount of shit that men have to go through is equal to the amount of shit that female have to go through. They go through different challenges, different experiences, but they're plagued with different problems. And what we do is then we're going for tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat. And it's just so unhelpful. It's just not healthy. And it just doesn't get us closer to like a solution. Yeah. But it's just difficult navigating through that landscape, because men have different pressures to females. And we need to like come to the table and have those conversations in how can a man help, like say, like even like in a marriage or in a relationship, how can the husband support the wife, not only in a traditional masculine way, but in a more modern way, emotionally.
Amen.
Like loving, caring and all that.
You talked about, you know, your dad and stuff, and it's so similar. It's very mirrored, because my dad showed love through service. Like he was just working. And I think, you know, like in a second we'll ask Adam and stuff about his relationship with his dad, because he's told me some stuff as well that was very different. There's a lot of like differences between the way we were brought up.
Yeah.
But I think because our parents were migrants, they came down here, right, with literally nothing. All right, I'm guessing you'd be the same too.
Nothing.
My mum was pregnant with me when she came down, and she had a 3-year-old son. My brother, you might see him on the side of a bus every now and then. Pereira Realty, Century 21 Pereira Group. There you go, sponsor us, bastard. Like they came down like with a 3-year-old and a pregnant wife, literally having nothing. You know,
correct.
Having English as a second language, coming down with this idea of, and you know, I saw it growing up, that they had their own idea of white supremacy. Like they had to like work for the white people. They like, you know, even to the point where like, and this isn't even a joke, like our family would put cream on us to lighten our skin, right? And a lot of Asian culture, they want you to be whiter and fairer because dark skin was associated with the slums, because you'd be working out in the villages.
You'd be in the sun all day.
Right? Yeah. So like the fairer you are, the wealthier you are and stuff as well. But like, it was like coming down here thinking like, shit, like we have to like work from the bottom up. So they saw that they had no option to work and hustle and hustle and hustle. And they did it for us. But the thing is, because of that lack of communication that you talk about now that you have with your kids, you know, you talk about reports and school and stuff as well, that lack of communication, there was no vulnerability and there was no sense of empathy and love in that sense, communicating through love and authenticity and vulnerability, where we could express what we needed, right? And our parents couldn't express why they were doing it either. So when you talk about, you know, protecting and providing, that's something that's in our innate nature as a men, right? Going back to our oldest ancestors, right? We know in our soul that we have to protect and provide.
Correct.
Whether it's for ourselves or for our wives, our partners, our kids, our community, our friends, our colleagues, whatever. We have that innate nature to protect and provide. But it's not just protecting and providing physically, right? A lot of guys walk around with like, you know, really big traps and delts and, you know, feel like they could like, you know, fight anyone in the room, right? And they might be thinking, yeah, I can protect my wife, you know, I can protect my girlfriend, you know, I'm not scared of anyone. But that's awesome. That's good. You'd want to be able to stand up and protect your partner in a physical way, right? Other people might do it financially. You want to do that. You want to be able to support and provide financial freedom for your family. Fair enough. But are you protecting and providing for them emotionally?
Correct.
Are you protecting and providing for them mentally? Are you, and this one's the most important, protecting and providing for them spiritually, right? And that doesn't mean that you're dictating things to them. This is how you spend your money.
Correct.
You know, this is what you should be wearing this to worship God. No, No. It's allowing them to find that themselves, giving them a space, allowing them to feel secure enough, safe enough to be able to seek that and find that. And you show them, not by saying, but by doing. Yes. You lead by the way that you do. You lead by the way that you seek spiritual fulfillment, the way that you the way that you create emotional balance, the way that you nurture your mental health, your emotional health, the way that you take care of your physical health, man. The reason why I train and the reason why I eat the way that I do now is not to look good. That's a byproduct of it. Correct. Ask me 10 years ago, I'd have a whole different answer.
Very true.
Whole different answer. Right? I don't need to eat the food that I'm eating right now to have a good body. You know, I could still eat processed foods. I could still eat junk food and still have a good body. That's the fact of it. That's, you know what I mean? It's true. You can eat McDonald's every day and still have abs.
Correct.
You honestly could. It's all about calories in, calories out. Are you training enough? Whatever, right? You can still eat shitty foods and still, when I say shitty foods, I shouldn't say shitty foods, but you know processed food stuff as well. But I know what it does to my soul, what it does to my spirit, what it does to my intuition, right? There's a reason why I don't drink tap water. There's a reason why I don't take fluoride. There's all these things, but everything that I do, right? And I do slip up. I do have off days. I do have weekdays, whatever, and that's fine. But the reason why I redirect myself and come back to alignment with the foods that I eat, the way that I move my body, the way, the people that I surround myself with, the career that I choose, is because it's the way that I lead myself, right, towards my own morals, values, purpose, to God.
That's how I try now. Well, I have been now for the last 3 years living my life. Like, I would call it, I guess, healthy masculinity, where it is like, yeah, you're strong, you're powerful, you're courageous. But then at the same time, you have this deeper level of emotional intelligence. You're kind, empathetic, and caring. You're forgiving. And you know, you're really tight, like I'm tied in with my spirituality, with my belief in God, and passing that on to my children. Like, you know, it wasn't even that long ago, like Rose thought she heard a sound in the house, and it's like, cool, I'm going to go check it out. And I'm like, you guys stand behind me, you guys wait here, and I'll storm out and go at the front. That's not a sexist thing to do. That is not a toxic masculinity thing to do. And if you think otherwise, I'm sorry, but you'd need to really fucking assess like life and how you view things. Like, I'm significantly bigger than my wife. I'm significantly stronger than my wife. I'm significantly more agile and more agile than my wife. I'm a better fighter than my wife. If there is an intruder in my house, I'm not going to send in my wife to do it when then we still need someone to take care of our children. Like, I can't control genetics. Like, that's just life. There's a reason why males are built a certain way, and there's a reason why females are built a certain way, normally.
And if you see it as something that is disrespectful to women to do that, ask yourself, why would you send your wife out before you?
And that just highlights someone else's problem with what they have with men. Like, they have an unhealthy relationship with men due to, more than likely, different types of men treating them like dog shit. But if you want to throw all men into that conversation, I think, you know, like, that's where there's a huge problem. There's this really good book called Of Boys and Men. So it's essentially about the crisis of like boys and men, by the author Richard Reeves, and he like touches on like some really key things, because the problem is that if you say the word toxic masculinity and essentially just shitting on all males, just grouping us all together, you are then ignoring the true reality of like the struggles that men or little boys are going through. And so that's my issue, like my biggest issue with that term is like, if you throw that out, you're making these huge like assessments about a whole fucking category that is flawed. So for an example, in this book, like he talks about how boys are falling behind. I actually have some stats on it. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. All right, here it is. Sorry, it was on this page. So essentially, Boys are underperforming in school compared to girls in almost every developed country. College enrollment is declining for men, so while it's rising for women. Young men are more likely to drop out of school and less likely to pursue professional careers. And also the whole mental health dilemma, where the suicide rates for males compared to females is significantly different. If you then are raising children with this term heard in the household or in the school or in society, toxic masculinity, like what hope are you giving them? Like you're not helping address the problem. You're not helping these boys become strong, powerful, emotionally intelligent, loving, kind creatures. You're just telling them everything about you is wrong. And to me, that is absolutely disgusting. Like it's horrible. But I don't think that, like, I feel like men also, like fathers, are to blame for this as well, because they're passing on their insecurities, their traumas onto these children, and they're telling them, this is what it is, and this is what it is to be a man in this world. This is how you're meant to behave. This is how you're meant to act. And so they're taught all these things that are not true. But then they have society at the same time saying, you're shit. You have everything in life given to you. And that's how you just create all these little monsters. You know what I mean? And I just feel like there needs to be better conversations on how we just promote healthy masculinity, or even just dropping that term, but just how do you create a healthy and loving person, you know?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Brad Stolberg as well earlier, because did you see his post this morning?
No, I didn't.
So it's funny, like I felt very underprepared for today. Like, even just like I got here late when you boys were setting up, and I was just like, man, I don't know what I'm going to kind of talk about, but I feel like the conversation's flowing. It's really good. I appreciate you coming in with notes and leading the way like you always do, man. But it's funny, like while I was waiting for the coffees, I opened up my phone, and the first thing that popped up was his post today, and it was about toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Right? And for those of you who don't know, Brad Stolberg's an author, he's a coach as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jonny recommended a book to all of us boys, which again is something I find beautiful about masculinity. And I'm going to go through some notes in a second of things that I wrote down in my journal a while ago. But I think that a really powerful trait about masculinity is not putting other men down.
Yes.
That's coming from a place of fear and insecurity, but uplifting men, making the men around you better than they were yesterday, right? And also receiving that from the men around you as well. But he put a thing out about performative masculinity against genuine masculinity, right? And you could call performative masculinity what people today call toxic masculinity, right?
Okay, yeah.
I'll read what it says about it. So the traits of performative masculinity. So I interpret that as performing for other people, external validation, right?
Correct.
Chest thumping, loud, arrogant, brash, makes fun of weak, right? Takes up space, objectifies women, deceitful and chaotic, right? Genuine masculinity is humble. It's quiet. It's confident. It's kind. It protects the weak. It's useful, respects women, honest and calm. And I really think, man, like I used to be 10 years ago, the loudest in the room.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, loudest in the room. And I think we've bonded over this before. The whole notion of like, chasing that whole alpha male idea, right? Wanting to be the most powerful, the strongest, the most wanted, right? I guess the different parallels that we had was like, for a lot of time I was single, but you're in that relationship. So I was seeking that through like, through women, through wanting to be wanted, wanting to be the most popular guy, wanting to be the guy that everyone wanted to be, all that. And I was on paper, when you look at me, it was like, oh, Shane's super confident, but fuck, was I the most insecure little boy that you could ever meet.
Same.
Right? And I don't look at myself with judgment. I look at myself with compassion and empathy back then, because did I fuck up a lot? Yes, 100%. But I only knew what I knew. And I had a responsibility to change that, right? If I was the same person now that I was 10 years ago, then it could be like, oh, am I actually listening to my inner voice? Or am I ignoring it? But I couldn't be the person I am today without being that person back then. Just like you talk about with your children, how you were before, you couldn't be the dad you are today without experiencing that. We couldn't be the men we are today without our dads.
Correct.
Showing us who we didn't want to become as well in that way, right? And even I still can't have conversations with my dad. I can't sit there and be like, hey dad, how did you feel during this time? Oh, this is how you made me feel. I still can't do that with him.
Yeah.
But what I can do, I always think, we live within two bodies. We live with our physical body and we also have our astral body, right? And I think that you can still heal through your astral body. It doesn't have to be physical conversations, right?
Yeah.
I'll sit there and write letters to people that I can't physically communicate with sometimes, whether they're deceased or whether it's people that I just have that blockage where I can't express to them,
yes.
right? And I'll still manage to find forgiveness and empathy and compassion and healing astrally rather than through physical communication until I'm ready to do that physically, right? And something that I learned is that, exactly what you said about your dad too, like he was just doing what he thought he had to do, right? And not everyone has the opportunity to, I guess, figure it out. So the fact that we, I guess, figured something out within our own masculine energy, it's not something that I want to judge him for. It's something that I want to thank God for, because it's a blessing and a gift that I could find that and make that change for myself.
Yeah.
Something that he wasn't able to do or listen to.
I think that's beautiful, man. I really do. And my greatest, like everything that you just mentioned, that Brad Stolberg put in that Instagram post, completely aligns with the teachings of Jesus.
100.
Like
totally.
100%. It aligns with it perfectly. And so that is where I draw my biggest inspiration in terms of masculine energy, or what it is to be a man. I really try to apply those things daily. Like I was telling my wife the other day, because I've changed so much, and then sometimes people will come up to me and they're like, oh, hey man, you look really down today. Like you look really quiet today. You're not saying much. Is everything okay? And I was saying to my wife, I'm like, sometimes that really fucking pisses me off, because I'm perfectly fine. But it's just that before, I guess I was just really loud, really obnoxious, really in your face, really ego driven. And I'm like, man, I'm fine. I just don't really have anything to say right now. And so, yeah, man, I relate with you so much in that regard, man, just because I used to carry on like a fucking idiot, but I don't hate myself for it. I actually, a lot of times put my hands on my heart, and I approach my younger self with a lot of compassion and love and understanding, and be like, hey man, I get why you were doing those things, that you just lacked so much confidence, and you lacked so much belief, and you lacked so much trust in yourself.
Yeah, you're right. The younger self doesn't need judgment. He needs love and nurturing, right? And I love that you brought up Jesus Christ, man, because this is a little message to anyone listening. This book here that's in my hand right now, Holy Bible, it's not a religious book. It's not a book where you just have to read it if you're a Christian or you want to be a Christian. This book is a blueprint on how to be the best version of yourself, right? So if you're someone at home looking for a book about personal development, and there's tons of books, there's whole personal development sections in your local bookstore, right? This to me is the best book you can read, especially the Gospels, talking about the life of Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those Gospels are what I find to be the best examples of how it is to be not just a good man, but a good person, right? And when we talk about, we talk about the alpha males as well, right? Man, I don't know what an alpha male is, right? Like people kind of look for it and stuff, but then it's performative. It's performative, right?
It's all performative, man. It's that look at the fucking car that I drive, look at the mansion that I have, look at all the clubs I'm going to, look at all the girls that I'm sleeping with, look at all the multiple businesses I'm running. It's just absolute, just shallow nonsense.
If there was sorry, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was I heard the term alpha male on a podcast recently, and I think they've done studies recently on packs of wolves.
Yeah.
And they've actually disproven the alpha male theory now. Studies have now shown that family units of wolves are actually raised by a powerful couple. So it's the male and female couple that determine and decide what the pack does. It's not just one strong guy or one alpha that is determining it. So when people start throwing around that term of, I'm the alpha wolf, I'm the whatever, it's like, bro, you're actually...
Yeah. And the thing is, if you have to tell people that you're an alpha, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not an alpha.
Yeah.
You're not strong masculine. If you have to tell people how strong you are as a masculine person, that's coming from a place of insecurity.
Yeah.
Right? You don't tell people, you demonstrate it through your actions, through your speech, through your behavior, right? The way that you align to your morals and purposes. You don't need to tell people, right? You don't need to tell people. And the definition of that, for me, the ultimate man, the ultimate definition of masculinity is through Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah,
and I'll read in a second what I wrote in my journal about like something that I use. I wrote it a while ago, but I wrote it in dot points. And then last night before bed, because I went back and found it and I just elaborated on it a little bit, right? And linked it to some Bible references. But I use that anytime that I feel lost. And this week I felt really lost. I felt really overwhelmed and I felt like I was losing control, right?
Me too.
You too? Yeah, man. Yeah. And I was like, a lot's been happening like with Soulflex. Like it's beautiful. Like so many things. Like I think I was saying in the last episode, I came back from New Zealand and just having that time for my feminine energy where I was just not doing anything. I was in the camper van driving around, just going to river and swimming. I could hear God's voice so clearly. And I came back with so much gratitude. I'm like, all right, God, you just gave me all these ideas. Now it's my job to make sure that I create and bring them to life with you, because you gave me a gift. I'm not just gonna sit there on my hands and just kind of like wait for shit to happen. I'm gonna create. I'm gonna do this because you gave me that gift. You did your job, and let me do mine. And I did that, and man, we got the ball rolling, and it's just progressed like so much. And without tooting my own horn, like it's because, you know what, like right now it's super busy and it's very productive, but there's going to be a time in a few months where it's going to slow down.
Yeah.
And that's the way business is. It ebbs and flows, right? My friend Sam Raffarachi, big shout out. He's a mentor of mine with business and also spirituality and God as well. He said to me when I started my business, remember, everything happens in seasons, right? Things will really like get really busy and it looks like it's flowing, and then things will just stop and will slow down, and that's okay, right? But when things slow down, make the most of it, because it's not always going to be there. It's going to get really busy. Don't just sit there and think, oh, why is nothing happening?
Correct.
Right? But at the moment it's a busy season, right? And I was this week finding myself having trouble adjusting to the speed of it. And I was feeling like I was just chasing my tail. I was forgetting things. I was making errors, fucking up. And I was handling the Soulflex stuff because to me, that's a priority. I couldn't let down clients and things as well. But it was the social events. There was heaps of like every weekend, right? And normally things slow down after Christmas, but we've had something on every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I just haven't had time to stop. And I'm good at saying no to things, but these are all things that, and involving people that really mattered to me that I couldn't say no to. And, or I didn't want to say no to because I really love them. And, I wanted to be there for them, but I just wanted to have some time to breathe. And then I found myself, in a place where I'm not normally, sitting in, where I was feeling negative about things. And I was having coffee with Lorna and my mum because my mum's been messaging me, and that was like, I need to make time for my mum. So I had like half an hour gap, and I'm like, Mum, come meet us in Campbelltown for a coffee. Sat with her, and then Mum was asking how I was. I'm like, Mum, there's just too much. There's so much shit on the weekends. And I said that word. And then Lorna's like, don't say it. And something about being a good masculine is finding yourself a really, really good partner that understands and loves what you do. Okay? Because they don't have to do the same things. They don't have to want the same things, whatever. But like, they just have to love you and love what you do and support you, because man, they're what keeps us strong. They're what keeps us going. They're like, I can't even put to words how much Lorna uplifts me. And I don't even need to explain that to you guys, because you both have partners that do that for you as well. But Lorna pulled me up on my shit. She goes, hey, don't call it shit. You know, you're so lucky that you have these beautiful friends around you and these people around you, and you're blessed to have that. And I was like, my ego kind of got the best of me. I just kind of went quiet or whatever. But then that night I went up to him like, hey, thank you for pulling me up on my bullshit this morning. Like, I was in a very negative headspace, and you're right. I should be so grateful. And then the next day, because I work casually at school. I keep Wednesdays and Thursdays free during school hours in case schools want to call me up, and I'll train people in the morning and then the night. But from 9 to 3, I keep it free on those 2 days. And I remember waking up and I missed a call from one of the schools, and I called them back and they were like, oh, we found someone, it's all good. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, you know what? It's all good. Like, the extra money would have helped, but maybe God's given me this time to finally have a breather. Okay, so maybe I wasn't meant to go into a school today. It's cool. So what I did was, I've been needing to get a massage for ages. When I got a massage, and I went down to the beach by myself. And that's when I looked back in my old journal and I found these things that I wrote down about masculinity. And then I took some time, went for a swim, and I felt like it was very metaphorical. The water was so calm. The waves were really kind of really light and easy. And it was, I could hear God's voice saying to me, calm your waters. You know what I mean? Calm the waters inside you, right? Because you're in control of that. Simplify things. You're overcomplicating things. And then he said to me, I gave you exactly what you asked for. So why are you complaining about it? Because if you can't handle it, it's fine. I'll give it to someone else. Yeah. And that hit me, man. I was like, no, you're right. This is exactly what I prayed for. This is what I want. And then I apologized to him. And I just had to redirect. And I was like, okay, let's get through this week. On Sunday, you got nothing on. Sit down and think, all right, the way that I'm living my life at the moment isn't aligning with me. What do I need to do differently? Yeah. Right? Because there's always something you can do differently.
I want to touch on that point of like partners as well. Like, my wife is so amazing, and you know, she really pulls me in line as well, and she's so supportive of my dreams and my ambitions, but she really centers me as well, and she really gets the best possible version of like masculinity out of me. And so having a loving, this is, I guess, you know, if you are in a relationship, but you know, the female really elevates the man so much more. Like, she completes them. Well, that's the experience in my relationship. Like, I have a partner where, and I know everyone has different opinions on all these types of things, but having my wife as my best friend, as my soulmate, makes such a tremendous difference, because we are always constantly communicating. We are always uplifting each other. Like, we are lifting each other up. We're not shitting on ourselves. And she's teaching me how to be emotional, how to be loving, how to be caring. And really, I'm now finding that balance. I would call it that healthy masculinity, of being, you know, strong and courageous, but kind and loving. And so I think having a partner who is not supportive of you, and this goes both ways. If you have a partner who is not supportive of you, who is not helpful, who's always putting you down, that's definitely going to get toxic traits out of you. It's going to get toxic behaviors out of you. And so this is a conversation for both males and females to have in relationships, that if you're not being supportive, if you're not being loving, if you're not being kind, and you're not communicating, you are causing a great amount of suffering and pain to that person. And like I was telling Ads as well, that towards, it was more at the start of the week. I was like feeling really off. Like I was feeling really anxious, really overwhelmed. My anxiety was just like fucking coming out in every possible way. And I was thinking, man, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like I've got like another 5 hours to go. I have to cancel all these clients. So I'm messaging my clients to cancel them. And I sent a message to my wife going, hey, like I'm going to be home early. Like I'm just not feeling well. Like I just need to get the fuck out of here. And I go, and she sent me a message saying like, look, you know, that's perfectly fine. Like you need to make sure that you take care of yourself. If you don't feel good to drive, you know, if you're too dizzy, we can come and pick you up. And just having that message, like that understanding, that love, that empathy, it just like completely like calmed me so much. And I was like, you know what? I can do this. And so I messaged my clients back going, actually ignore that message. All is good. And I finished the day and I had an amazing afternoon. I had an amazing night with my wife. And so just, it's weird. Like I felt like what Rose taught me was, in terms of masculinity, was you are allowed to be kind. You are allowed to be emotional. You are allowed to express like your emotions freely. And you know, she would, because I would be upset like you, I'd be obsessed with my body before and my training, and I just wanted to look like a god. And she'd be like, I don't find those things sexy at all. And she was like so genuine about it. She's like, I don't find that sexy at all. That doesn't show confidence to me. That doesn't show trust in yourself. And so I find that for me and from my experience, you know, like what completes a man is a partner who really elevates them, who is really supportive and loving. Because like historically, like men found their purpose in providing and protecting. That's the reality. Men found that purpose in their purpose in those ways. And then as time has changed and those roles aren't necessarily there anymore, we find ourselves needing to redefine our purpose in this world. And that's why, like when we touched on purpose a few episodes ago, I'm like, my purpose in life then is to serve my wife, my children, my community, my friends, my God. That is my purpose. And like redefining what then masculinity means in this day and age is incredibly important. Okay, because we need to be doing a better job in teaching men what it is to be a man. And that's what I find so destructive about social media and fucking influencers and all this nonsense. Because they're just teaching, you know, guys to be fucking the worst. You're teaching them to be the opposite of what being masculine truly is. And I'm not too sure like where it happened, or like where we lost ourselves in society, where men thought masculinity meant just to be strong and tough and nothing else, and where the whole service got dropped, where the whole kind got dropped. Remember, you know, Jesus spoke about, I didn't come to be served, I came to serve.
He washed the disciples' feet.
You know, like
yeah.
And that's my favorite story in the Gospels. I always talk about that. Like everyone talks about that, like the Last Supper, about how God, you know, Jesus breaking the bread and this is my body. But, you know, a couple of chapters before that, it's, you know, Jesus is washing like the disciples' feet, and they're like, you know, what are you doing? Like, how can you be washing our feet? You know, you're the Messiah, you're the Christ. And he's like, if I'm the Messiah and the Christ and I'm willing to do this for you, what are you then willing to do for equals? Yeah. And it's so fucking true.
Tell me a CEO of a company that goes and washes his employees' feet, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. And like Jesus was the leader of all leaders, the king of all kings. Yeah. And he was doing that. And it's just like, that's what I mean. This Bible is a blueprint and shows you how to be a man of service, how to be a godly man. And, you know, like and this is something like when men can understand how to connect and be in their inner masculine, you watch your partners, the females, will let their walls down and they can understand how to be in their feminine, because a lot of females are in their masculine because they have to have walls up because they're not they have to find that polarity. And if they can't find it in their partners, they're gonna have to find it within themselves. And that's why a lot of females are in their masculine, right? And you see with a lot of, like, say, women who've had bad experiences with males, whether it's father relationships with their fathers, or relationships with ex-partners who may have been abusive or narcissistic or controlling, they put their walls up, they set these boundaries, and they're really in their masculine, right? But then as a man, if you understand how to be not a performative masculine, but a genuine masculine, inner masculine, not external, inner, a man of service, you'll see the difference with your partner. She'll start to ease, and she'll start to be free and nurturing and gentle and softer, right? And like Lorna said this to me the other day, and it blew my mind, right? So I've said this before, especially in the purpose episode, that nothing comes before my purpose. Even Lorna, she doesn't come before my purpose, right? The only reason Lorna and I work is because our relationship aligns with my purpose, right? I can give and receive the same thing that I do through my purpose that I do. And I see my purpose with my relationship with her, right? It aligns with my morals, my values, it aligns with God, most importantly. But the other day I was approached by someone who I used to have I guess a relationship with when I was single. We weren't dating or anything, but we were just like seeing each other here and there. Really, really beautiful person, but she hit me up for breath work and a bit of coaching. And normally if it aligns with me, I will always say yes to it. Right? If I feel it doesn't align, I won't do it. But with this, I felt the right thing to do was to let Lorna know, hey, I'm going to be having these one-on-one sessions with this person. This is the history that we've had, right? And I even told that person, look, be happy to do it. I feel like I'd love to help you with this, but I just need to run things by my partner because I don't want to keep anything from her. And she was like, yep, completely get it. She was a girl's girl. She completely get it. I was like, cool. And I spoke to Lorna and she had no problems with it. She goes, are you sure you want to do it? I'm like, yep. I feel like God really wants me to say yes to this, but I just wanted to check in with you and communicate anything that might be bothering you or anything like that. And she goes, there's nothing bothering me. You make me feel really secure. And it made me feel really, really emotional when she said that, because that's something I've never been able to do with any of my ex-partners. Make them feel secure, because I wasn't secure within myself back then. And how could I provide security to them when I couldn't even provide security to myself? And it was just a moment where I took it and I was like, wow, to me, that's success. Man. That is success. And I know we're a bit over with time, Ads. Do we have like 3 minutes to... I just was talking about this for a while. Do you mind if I read through this, bro?
Go for it, brother.
I hate reading through books, but
why?
This is something I feel like it's I don't want to disconnect from the conversation.
I will never be one of those people that can just read, like memorize quotes and not need to turn to a book. So no, go for it.
It's more like my own words and stuff, but these are what I consider my checkpoints as a man, right? And I've made a conscious effort after this week that I've had where I just felt so disconnected, and I felt like I wasn't being a good example at home and stuff as well, with the way that I was talking, the way that I was seeing life. And I was like, all right, I need to redirect. And I knew that we were going to do the episode of masculinity. So I went through my old journal, I looked at these dot points, and I wrote these down as checkpoints, right? And 2 books that really influenced me on the type of man I want to be is a book that I got Adam reading recently as well, The Way of the Superior Man.
Oh yeah.
Such a beautiful, beautiful book about masculinity, and for males and females to read. Honestly, it'll help you understand males in a better way too, if you read this. And of course the Bible. Like for me, when it comes to a man with a purpose that aligned to his morals and his values and to God, there is no better definition than Jesus Christ. To the point where he was being criticized, ridiculed, mocked, judged, and he never wavered from his purpose. Right? People kind of just know like the dribs and drabs about Jesus Christ, but when you actually read the gospel, you see the life that he lived, man. People were insulting him. People were seeing him as a joke. We just see the glory of Christ, right, on paper. But when you read the gospels, you're like, imagine a friend of yours who has this purpose, and everyone in that group Like all your friends, the community is laughing at him, mocking him, calling him crazy, but he doesn't waver. You know, to the point where it gets to the point where they're like, all right, if you don't change your mind on your purpose, we're going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, man.
And like in a brutal way. And he was like, no, this is what I need to do. I know I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die in the most savage ways, to the point where he had to carry his own cross that weighed around 100 kilos, right? Anyone that's done 100 kilo squats at the gym, you know how heavy that is, right? Imagine walking from one town to another, carrying 100 kilos on your back.
Being abused, whipped.
While being whipped, to the point where, and the thing is, again, we don't talk about this enough, and it's going to be quite graphic for the people that are listening, but I think that it needs to be said to understand. He was getting whipped to the point where people didn't know if he was male or female anymore, right? That's fucking mental.
Yeah.
That is mental. And he still continued on his purpose until his last breath. That, to me, is someone who I could never amount to. I could never amount to, but I'm not meant to. I'm just meant to use him as a moniker for who I want to be, and try my best to be even 10% of what he is, right? But these are my checkpoints. There's 12 points here. 1, remember that I have masculine and feminine energy existing within me, and understanding that this pendulum of energy helps me to find balance and maintain control. 2, the priority of the masculine is the mission for freedom, but the priority of the feminine is the search for love. And we have that within us. Understanding this helps me to find peace within my own energy, as well as my romantic relationships as well. 3, postponing, self-sabotaging, imposter syndrome, and excuses are a natural response of the ego. It is my job as a leader to practice discernment and discipline to align to purpose. 4, stop waiting for perfection or for completion. Masculine energy is doing. Spend time building. The project is the journey. Number 5, march to the beat of your own drum. And this is something that I was judged for a lot as a child, black sheep, all that kind of stuff. But I understand now it's a superpower. You're either a follower or a leader. Listen to advice with respect, but always discern between the message of others and your own intuition. Ask yourself, are you avoiding something, or even are you doing something for your purpose, or is it for validation or due to outside influence? 6, align yourself to your purpose. Decision-making, values, actions, even your diet, your habits, nothing comes before this, even your relationships. The challenges and opportunities in relationships are always for you to enhance your purpose. So see purpose in your relationships as well. Number 7, build a community of men. And this is you boys. This is Wade, Albert, Michael Unwin, Seb, the people around me, Dom, Mick. Build a community of men around you who share the same morals, virtues, and desire for purpose and definition of success. Love them like God loves you. Challenge them with brutal honesty, but from a place of love, not judgment. Your jobs and roles is to uplift each other and help each other redirect and realign. And I think about the way that Christ spoke to his disciples. He's always treated them with love, but he challenged each of them, right? To the point where they became saints. 8, flow, the law of perpetual rhythm. There will be periods of action, and then there'll be periods of stagnant. Never force flow. Just flow with the rhythm and you will receive. Always make time to meditate, breathe, and pray. Doing can be your biggest strength, but it can also be your biggest weakness. 9, don't forget your inner child. Always prioritize play, laughter, creativity, joy, and freedom. 10,
Love that.
find flow in relationship through polarity of masculine and feminine energy. Lead your partner through love, through peace, and most importantly, through God. 11, understand that temptation will always be there. But what you want to do and what you should do are often not in alignment. The road to hell is easy, but the road to heaven is challenging. 12, don't be afraid to be disliked. Seeking external validation forces you to wear many masks, and you will no longer recognize your own face. Authenticity is driven by God through love and through purpose. But yeah, they're my 12 checkpoints. And anytime I feel lost, I come back to those. And ask myself, what's no longer in alignment? And it just kind of guides me back.
I love that, man. I think I'll add like one more thing before we close this episode up, and because I summarized it, I wrote down, so how can we redefine healthy masculinity? And I wrote, so encouraging emotional intelligence. So men often struggle expressing emotions due to cultural norms that discourage vulnerability. Healthy masculinity means having both emotional resilience and the ability to be open about struggles. Examples of positive masculinity include being able to talk about struggles without feeling weak, understanding that courage isn't just physical, but also emotional. Example, admitting when you are struggling. I've also put here the importance of brotherhood and mentorship. So like throughout history, men have thrived in brotherhoods, tribes, and mentorship networks. Many men today feel isolated, lacking strong friendships or older male mentors to guide them. That's definitely something that I struggled with. Encouraging mentorship, teamwork, and community can help men develop confidence. The balance between strength and compassion. So masculinity isn't about removing strength, resilience, or independence, but balancing it with empathy, integrity, and responsibility. So an example, a father can be strong in protecting his family while also being gentle and emotionally available to his children. And so that's something that I try to thrive in every day. The goal isn't to abandon masculine traits, but to refine them in a responsible, positive force.
I like that.
And so, yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of like end it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that the final point I would like to add to that is that masculinity isn't inherently toxic, okay? But rigid ideas of masculinity can be harmful. And so, man, I think we touched on some beautiful points.
We did. I know ads, we didn't get you involved as much as normal, but is there anything that you wanted to add or share with about the topic of masculinity?
Not really. I mean, I think you boys covered it perfectly. I'm sort of reflect what Jonny was saying now that I have a son and I have to try and instill in him, all of those traits, how to be strong, how to be nurturing, how to provide, how to protect, but how to show emotions. Like, man, it's a whole minefield to navigate, but I just try and lead by example. It's the best thing you can do, right? Like, I feel like if I practice those things enough in myself, it's just going to inherently come out in him. So I make sure every single time I'm feeling love towards him or I feel like saying something to him, I do. He's 20 months old, but I can already still say to him, hey Connor, I love you. And even though he can't say I love you back yet, he knows to go, mwah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
And already, that's something that's already growing in him. He knows what love is. He's kind of understanding that concept, and that dad has this love for him that he can start showing back to me.
Yeah.
Because Shane sort of touched on it before, that I had a really different relationship with my dad than what you boys did. My dad was, he always showed compassion to my mum. He would always show affection to her in front of us, which was such a beautiful thing. But he showed it to us as well. And I listened, when I was painting Connor's room before he was born, I was listening to Hamish Blake's podcast, How Other Dads Dad. And I can't remember who the guest was that it came on. He was a news reporter of some sort, but as part of his job, he had to be away heaps. In Afghanistan, all these places around the world. He was going for 6 months at a time.
Far out.
But when he'd come back and check in with his kids about like, oh, how do you feel about daddy being away? They would say to him like, oh, were you away that often? This was sort of later in life. They're like, were you away that often? Because when he came home, he was dad. And he was playing with them on the floor, and he was doing everything he could to show them that he was loving them and that he was present, to the point where, they would think, oh, were you actually away that much? Because I just remember you being there and playing. And I think my dad was the same, where he actually was away quite a bit. If you talk to my mum, he traveled quite a bit for work, but I only remember the times that he was there and he was playing with us and he was out the back playing sports with us, or he was inside. And so I try and, it's still funny though, because I don't remember a time that he said, I love you though. It's interesting. I know he loved me and he still does. Yeah. And I see how he is with Connor now and how much love and affection he brings when he's looking after him. I can see it, and he says things like, bring him around anytime, love having him here, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's funny, like even the other day I wanted to just send Dad a text to say like, hey, I just want to let you know that it's awesome how much you love Connor and how much you want him around. But for some reason, right, there's still something in me that goes, but then is that a bit silly to message Dad? Whereas I shouldn't, right? There shouldn't be any stigma to just message my dad and say, thank you for loving Connor so much. But I didn't. So I'm going to make sure after this episode today, I do it.
Nice, bro.
That's beautiful.
Like I got to, because that's, I just got to break those habits, right? The traumas that we have.
You know what's funny? Like maybe going back like 6-7 years ago, or 5 years ago rather, I'd do it as a joke, like at the end of a conversation with my male friends. I do it to Wade all the time and Albert, and I'd be like, I love you, and just out of habit, because they think they're talking to their partners, they're like, I love you too, and they're like, oh fuck bro, you made me say it, you're gay. Now every message ends with, I love you, man. I really love you. I love you so much. Do you know what I mean? But it was just breaking that awkwardness. I didn't do it with intention. I didn't do it with that intention to do that. I was doing it as a joke.
Yeah.
Because they were just, they're like, fuck, you made me say I love you back. And it's like, but then like now that's how we end our conversations. Like
Correct.
Last night, I just realized I hadn't spoken to Wade all week. I was like, hey bro, just checking in. How are you? Just want you to know I love you, man. And he goes, bro, I love you more than you'll ever know.
That's beautiful.
And
man.
Wade's like, looks like a lumberjack. Do you know what I mean? And he said that. And, yeah, you're right. It's just that discomfort. And you boys know that I run that Man Up challenge once a year, right? And I use the word man up because I'm trying to redefine what manning up is.
That's beautiful.
And one of the tasks that we do in the first week is they message a male in their life, whether it's an uncle, a dad, a friend that they don't normally express emotion to, and tell them that they love them and explain to them why they love them. And it's and that's something that's a huge blockage I notice in a lot of the males. They have trouble doing that. But I just want to say, like we talk about our dads and upbringing and stuff as well. I just want to finish with this, right? I used to always think like, I was so cursed about not having a good male role model growing up, right? Yeah. I've learned to kind of let go of that and see that with empathy and purpose. And I understand that my dad only knew what he knew, and right, and did the best that he could at the time. But instead, God has given me father figures around me now as an adult that are still fathering me, that are showing me the kind of father I want to potentially be, right? And I'm talking about you, Jonny. I'm talking about you, Adam. I'm talking about, Seb, Michael Unwin, Jonas, my brother. All these dads around me that are just showing me how to be healthy masculines, so that when I do have my own kids, I will be prepped and ready. Do you know what I mean? So it's a blessing being around you boys. It's a blessing being around you men. This brotherhood is honestly something I never, ever, ever take for granted. Like Lorna said to me when we first started dating, man, you have such good men around you. And it's a blessing. The moments that we sit down with coffees and sit on the steps on Queen Street and just talk about life, talk about, purpose, all these things, and share these things, the way we uplift each other. It is one of the most beautiful things. Yeah, man. I second that. We are incredibly blessed. And the more that I reflect on all these things as well, it's that, and you did cover it, is that no matter what religion you believe in, whether you're religious or not, and I always tell people that, I always encourage the Gospels. So, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, to read the story of Jesus. And I would encourage every man who's currently struggling, in terms of they're just confused about what it is to be a man. No matter what religion you are or what your beliefs are, I would strongly suggest that you read the Gospels of Jesus, just to see what masculinity is and what it is to be a man. Because a lot of the times when I do meditate and think about the crucifixion and about what Jesus did and why he did it and what it actually means to carry your own cross, it makes me really emotional. I get really sad about it. But then I see this mentor, this figure demonstrating, because if you were to summarize all this stuff about masculinity, it's fundamentally about being strong, but also seeking the truth in terms of love and compassion and kindness. And you are not going to see a better example throughout history on what that is. And that's why I'm so proud to always be talking about Jesus to people. Before in the past, I would kind of get really awkward about it or cringe. But now I'm man,
there is no greater example of love and kindness and compassion and empathy and strength and resilience than Jesus. And so if you are lost and confused, I would highly suggest, again, no matter what your beliefs are, to just read that, to take example from that, to take inspiration and to apply those teachings into your everyday life. But my man, it's been an absolute pleasure again to catch up with you, to cover such an important topic like masculinity, and just actually do it service, do it justice. And I know that our listeners are going to get so much from this. But boys, again, I'm so honored to do this show with you both. And yeah, I definitely love you both heaps. So thank you so much.
Love you too, boys.
Love you too, guys.